In today's video, I'm going to do some trade recaps on a couple trades I made this week on some recent reverse split plays. One of them was ADXS and the other was OPTT. I'm John Papa and this is Sublime Trades. So the setup on both of these plays was recent reverse splits with catalysts. For more info on this strategy, check out my trade recap on my BPTH trade. I'll put a link in the description below and you can check that video out. Now let's get into these charts. So the first one I want to talk about is ADXS. Now this is their daily chart for about the past year and it's pretty ugly looking, but really a lot of these reverse split plays have similar charts because what the companies are generally doing is they're going to do a reverse split to decrease their float. Then they're going to do something to pump the stock price, and then they're going to do offerings so that they can raise cash, which increases their float, and it causes just a long-term downtrending chart like this. So if we zoom in a little bit, we can see right here, which was last Friday, March 29th, that was the day of the reverse split. They did a 1 for 15 reverse split that day. And so on the day that I entered it on this day. And most of the platforms I have had not updated the charts because of the reverse split yet. So it looked like, you know, this candle was like 15 times higher than it actually was. And saying that it was up some, you know, a few thousand% or something. But this is what the chart actually looked like once they adjusted the previous prices for the split. So let's get into an intraday chart. And this will be a 3-minute chart. And so this is the day of the split. And you can see it opened up and had a small morning spike, pulled back from there, had a kind of a crack below that opening pull, and set a low down here in the 480s. Bounced a little bit and then just went sideways on fading volume. And then you can see all of this volume here that came in. At about 3 p.m. Eastern, they put out a press release saying that they were going to present some preliminary findings from their phase 1 trials at some sort of conference or presentation over the weekend. This was on a Friday. And so I went ahead and, you know, I brought up the chart when I saw that news, and the price had already spiked up from about the 530s to nearly $6. Now, when I was getting my entry in this, I made a small mistake. It ended up not hurting me too badly, but I was trying to get in like the 570s, and I somehow entered a market order, and I got a terrible execution. Getting executed as high as like 594, and my average entry price after that was, I think, 590. And so I'll go ahead and draw a line where my entry was, which was actually, it was 590.68 was my average price. So that's right there. And so let's go ahead. So you can see after I entered, you know, it did spike up to about 650 and then pulled back, and then it actually kind of fell below my entry price. I was feeling okay though. I was risking off of 540, so this high point right here, and you know, it never came down to my risk point, so I was okay holding it. I really wanted to hold this over the weekend because I figured you know, more people are going to hear about this news. This news came out late in the day. And then with that conference, if they go into more details and it's good news, then this stock could really move. And so this is the following Monday. I'd been watching the news all weekend on this, and there weren't any press releases about that conference on Sunday until Monday morning at... See, this is Eastern time. So Monday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern time, they put out a press release talking about the conference and the news from their preliminary trials. And it started spiking. And so I went ahead and... So this gray background here is pre-market. And so I started selling in pre-market, and it looks like at 793 I had my first sell order. I sold 140 shares, so approximately 1/5 of my position. Locking in a little bit over $2 a share on that. And then this ended up consolidating for quite a while. Let's see, this is like 8:10, and it consolidated. So it consolidated for an hour. And so after it consolidated, or while it was consolidating here, I was feeling pretty good because of this low that it had set, and I had decided to move my risk up to that point. And so if it had broken below this low at around 780, 787, 785, so probably if it had broken down below about 780, I would have gone ahead and just exited and taken all my profits. But I was trying to make it to the open to see if we could get a good spike, once the full volume came in. Now, my next sell order, I originally had put at about 890 or so, trying to get another dollar a share above this one. Again, that's something I talk about in that BPTH trade recap. I was trying to do a similar thing, just getting like an extra dollar per share for each sell. But after this had been consolidating for so long, I ended up moving my sell order down to 840 for my next 100 shares. And so on this spike, as it moved out of this consolidation, it filled that 100 shares. And it spiked up all the way to about 965 or so here. And this is still pre-market. Then it had a little pull right before the open, back down to about 910. And then on the open, it got massive volume, 1.3, 1.4 million shares of volume. And it had a nice spike. And so my next sell order had been in at 993. So again, like a dollar a share higher than like the 790, 890, 990 approximately. So 993, that one filled right there. And so my next order after that was at 1090. Ooh, and this one was a little frustrating. This candle right here, it topped out at 1080. I had put my sell order just 10 cents too high, and this was too quick. It popped up really quick and then just pulled right back down. And so I wasn't able to like change my order or put a different order in. But I was still going to be patient with this. And, I expect stocks to pull back. They're not going to go straight up. They need to pull back and then continue higher. But in this case, the next candle over this next 3 minutes, it pulled really hard. And as soon as it broke down below this $9 level, I decided that I really need to be selling. I don't want to just hold and hope as this goes back possibly to the $5 level, $6 level where I got in. So I went ahead and I sold some at $9. I sold 100 shares, and just a few, probably less than a minute later, I sold at $8.95. And then a couple minutes after that, maybe 5 minutes later, I sold my last 100 shares at $8.60, it looks like. Yeah, my final sell order was at $8.60, so right around there. So overall, I still did really good. This sell here was like a $4 a share gain. All of these ones were between $2 and $3 a share. And let's see, overall on the trade, I made $1,800. I made 5.6 R, so I made 5.6 times my initial risk, and it was a 48% gain overall. Now, at the top up here of this spike, I was up like 85% on my remaining shares. I definitely could have done a little bit better, either selling some more here or selling faster. Maybe selling my whole remaining position right here. The reason I sold this in 100 shares like that, I was still hoping that it was going to catch itself because it was still above this kind of high that it had set earlier pre-market. I was hoping that it would maybe just come back, find some support there, and go higher. And when that didn't happen, I just got out. And we'll see what it looks like the rest of the day. And you can see it just faded off the rest of the day. Never got back up to my last sells. So I feel really good about that trade. It was really interesting. I haven't played many of the reverse splits where they actually put out a press release on the day of the reverse split, but this one worked out well. If you're enjoying this video, please smash that like button, subscribe to my channel for more content like this, follow me on Twitter at Sublime Trades, leave a comment, let me know if you played these, let me know if you have any questions. Now let's get into the other trade, OPTT. And the other trade I want to talk about is OPTT. This was a trade I took this morning, and this was also a reverse split play. You could see here back on March 12th, they did a 1-for-20 reverse split. And I believe that their float was somewhere right around 1 million shares, 900,000 shares, something like that. But you can see that like on the day of the split, it had a spike and then sold off, and then it's just been kind of selling off since the split. Found a bit of a base here in the low 4s, and has just been going sideways for, the past few weeks until this morning. So we'll get into the intraday chart here. And so I have news alerts set on all of these reverse split plays. And I got a text this morning shortly after I had woken up that they had news. And when I brought up the chart, this initial candle had already happened. And this thing had spiked from $5 up to $7 and then pulled back to about $5.40, $5.50, something like that. And I don't remember what the news was. I think it was they had some sort of contract with someone, so they were going to be getting revenue from this contract. So I went ahead and I started trying to buy some shares on the bid. There was a fairly wide spread of maybe like 30 to 40 cents. It was fluctuating, but it was a pretty wide spread. I didn't really want to take the offer. And so starting around $5.50, I was sitting on the bid. I wasn't getting filled, and it was slowly upticking. I kept raising my price little by little, 10 or 20 cents at a time. I got up to a bid of $6, and then that was about as far as I wanted to chase it, since that was already like 10% higher than the $5.50 area that I was originally trying to get into it. So I waited. I gave it about 10 minutes, maybe, and it just wasn't pulling back. Like it kept just sitting, like it was right above my bid. Like people were coming in at like 601, 602, 603, and then 620, 630, 650. And it was just kind of consolidating there in like the mid to high sixes, and it kind of looked like I wasn't going to get filled. And so right here on this candle, as it started moving up out of that consolidation, I went ahead and I just took the offer. I knew I wanted in. The price action seemed really strong with how, like, it really wasn't dipping. Like, any attempted dips were getting bought up. And so I ended up buying 400 shares at $7. And like I say, I just took the offer right here. And let me draw a line at my entry price. So right around there was my entry. And this trade was really quick. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. This is a 3-minute chart still. So I got in right there, and it just, gradually ramped up all of pre-market from where I got into it. And so I had my first order in for 100 shares at $8.90. So nearly $2 a share gain. And it filled at the top of this candle right here. That candle topped out right there. It pulled back. And that was it for pre-market. And then right at the open, we had a nice volume surge of 1 million shares. So that was like the whole float right there, worth of volume. And my next order was at $9.98. So I put that order in just below $10 because I figured, it didn't really run into any resistance for this whole move. But I figured that $10, that's a bigger psychological level. And I thought that it could have some trouble right there. So I put my order in right below that. That one got filled, and I was right. Like it popped right through to about 1043, and then it started pulling. And unlike that last trade on ADXS where I slowly scaled out on the way down, hoping for a bounce, in this one I was just happy to take my profits. I went ahead and sold my last 200 shares at 927 right here on this candle. And as you can see, I left a lot on the table, but that was okay because I don't know that I would have wanted to hold through this pull here. This is just looking at these couple red candles and this consolidation that could be considered a bear flag in the short term. And, I wouldn't have wanted to see it pull like this and consolidate only to crack lower and let me just give up all those gains. So on this one, I made about $925, nearly a 5R trade. So about 5 times my risk. I was risking 50 cents. I was pretty comfortable with how it wasn't dipping. Just based on my size, I risked 50 cents, so I was risking 650. And this trade was a 33% gain. But you can see the upside here. This ended up going all the way to $16. And, so I could have made like nearly a $10 per share gain on this one. And, I'm under PDT in my accounts, and if I wasn't, there's a good chance I would have tried to get back in somewhere as this ramped up off of this level here, or possibly as it broke out over this high right here. It's possible I would have got back in to try to capture some more of this upside. But being under PDT, I wasn't going to use another trade on the same ticker, and I generally try to not re-enter the same ticker on the day that I exit a trade, especially if I make really good gains like this, because I don't want to end up having a good trade, making great gains, and then just throwing it away, getting greedy, trying to get more gains out of it. So this one, it spiked up to that $16 level, and then it pretty much went sideways for the rest of the day, for most of the rest of the day, into the afternoon. Until about 1:30 p.m. I guess really you could say here like 1 o'clock. Up until this point, the chart was still looking pretty good, looking fairly intact. It had a nice spike. It's going to pull back and it's consolidating. And then it was trying to go higher. It just didn't happen though. It had these hard cracks and just faded off into the close. So that was my trade on OPTT. That was a really quick $1,000. I'm not even sure. I was only in the trade from 9:09 until about 9:35. So not even a half an hour for that trade to make 33%, 34%. So yeah, I'm really happy with that one. So those were my trades on ADXS and OPTT. Some recent reverse splits with catalysts. I made some really big gains really quickly and couldn't ask for much better trades. If you like this video, please smash that like button. Subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter at Sublime Trades. Leave a comment if you have any questions or suggestions or comments. And I'll catch you later.